Hello and welcome to a special Kickoff Countdown, our crowded couch edition. I'm Ace Raymond alongside Oliver Platts, Kurt Larson, and Mike Leach way down in the corner. A great game on Saturday, setting up what should be an exciting second leg of the finals. Let's get right to it and recap that match. It was a bit of a stalemate till things really opened up just after the half-hour mark. The 37th minute, this one turned the game on its head. Cavalry's Joel Waterman sent off for a handball in the box, resulted in a penalty, which Tristan Borges misses. A nice save from Marco Carducci, but puts Cavalry down on 10 men. So we started a discussion there. Oliver, how did you feel about this decision?
I think there's a lot of people, myself included, who thought that, yes, it's a penalty, but maybe a yellow card would have been enough for this particular incident, given it's not a case of a defender punching the ball off a line. The problem is that the laws of the game don't really allow for anything like that. That's not an option that was available to the referee. If it's a handball and denial of goal-scoring opportunity, he has to send Joel Waterman off by the letter of the law. So it's a tough one. I would prefer to see a different rule in that scenario, but those are the rules, and I think he got it right, even though it was harsh.
Yeah, every time I watch it, I see something different. That's what's hard. Coming into this show, I thought it was a harsh decision. I thought that Joel Waterman's arm was in a natural sliding position, but then we've just seen kind of a different angle there, and unfortunately, we don't know what's in Joel Waterman's head. You know, was he trying to extend his arm? Did it need to be that extended, or is that just the natural motion of the slide? I'm okay with the decision overall. I would say in the future I would like to see a rule where you can't get sent off, concede a penalty, and miss the next game all in one. I think that's too much.
Absolutely. I'm not sure that that intent really matters here, because it is a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. I don't think he intended to do it. I absolutely don't think he intended to do it. I think you're right. The hand is in sort of a natural position as he's sliding. Cavalry fans will feel aggrieved by the decision, but it's right. The right call was made. The red card and the sending off was correct.
That's the tough thing about the rule, though, is if you don't think it's deliberate handball, then it's not a penalty at all.
Right.
But if you think it's handball, then it has to be a red card too. So those are the laws right now, and yeah, it's tough on Waterman.
Yeah, Tristan Borges did not convert on the penalty, but he does score before the break. It made it 1-0. Then in the second half, 69th minute, Tristan Borges is sent off after this situation with Jay Wheeldon, rather, and this has a lot of people pointing the finger and wondering what happened here. So I ask you, Oliver, did Cavalry's Jay Wheeldon target the Golden Boot leader, and was this the right decision in the end?
I don't think he targets him. It's a strong challenge. I don't think there's too much wrong with it. The ref gives a foul. What I think he does do is sell what then happens. Jay Wheeldon goes down holding his face. I'm not sure there's any contact with his face. Borges has been sent off for a kicking out, presumably violent conduct. I don't think there's a kick there. I think there's Tristan Borges squirming and trying to get out from underneath Wheeldon, who kind of pushes his face into the ground. I think Tristan Borges was really hard done by here, and we know this is being appealed, and I hope it's overturned.
Jay Wheeldon absolutely targeted Tristan Borges. He lined him up. I believe the saying in hockey is something about trolley tracks and coming in for basically to obliterate your opponent. The one thing that saves him is he does get a piece of the ball. So that's why, for me, it is a borderline fair challenge, but it's certainly hard. I would say it's excessive, and he comes in for one reason: to put Borges on the ground, to get on top of him, to put an elbow into his neck, and then to feign like he's been hit in the face with a high boot. It worked. It might have saved the CPL finals for Cavalry, because ultimately the red card gets the best player in the league sent off, stops the bleeding. So in some ways, an evil genius, Jay Wheeldon.
An evil genius. You see in that highlight who's clapping real emphatically is Jose Escalante. That tells you everything you need to know about that.
Right when Tristan Borges is walking by as well. I love that. Yeah.
And you know what? It's. I looked at that. To me, it looks like Wheeldon goes in with the elbows up to. It's extremely harsh.
You don't think he targeted Tristan Borges? You don't think he saw a player that he's like, I'm going to go in hard here?
I don't think he necessarily clocked that it was Borges. I think he saw an opportunity to win the ball. Then maybe when they're on the ground, he thinks, and Cavalry, I think, they've compared, Tommy Wooden Jr. compared Borges to Escalante in that, they play with a bit of an edge. And so maybe there was a bit of targeting going on there. But no, I think it kind of just something that happened and developed on the field. I don't think it was premeditated.
Yeah. And we do know that at the time of this recording the show now, both red cards have been appealed, so we await the decision on those. Another moment controversy in the 85th minute, a shout for a handball.
Yeah.
And this one was missed by some, but we caught it. We're showing you now. It does look like it catches the elbow of Mason Trafford. Was Cavalry lucky to avoid conceding a second PK in this match, Oliver?
Not for me. If you look at where Mason Trafford's right arm is, it's tucked into his body. Yes, it hits the elbow, but it's not an unnatural position. He's not extended the arm. I think that's the correct call from the ref.
I still can't tell from that replay. For me, I see something different every time. If it hits his elbow when it's like this, that's fine. But there's angles where it looks like it hits the elbow when it's like this a little bit. I think in real time it's difficult for the referee to make that decision, especially after he's made two fairly controversial calls in the game. So I think awarding a penalty there would have been a bit much. So I think it's the right call just to let it go unless he's 100% sure.
Yeah.
So I'm going with the correct decision was made. No penalty.
Yeah, the correct decision was definitely made. And to Ollie's point, he can't take his arm off. It's right next to his body. And there's another thing in there. The proximity between where the ball is struck and where Trafford is maybe 2 meters. It's not a lot. There's not a lot of proximity there. So for me, it was a correct no call.
The problem is if he makes his arm even a little bit bigger, it's a penalty.
Yes.
But it looks like it was down just enough to where it wasn't. Right?
Yeah, the referee should have erred on the side of caution earlier, and I'm glad he did in this case. I'd prefer more of that.
Yeah, fortunate other opportunities throughout this game were El Jimador shots of the match with 3 crossbars, and DeMarco Carducci was solid as well throughout this game. Cavalry, are they fortunate to still be alive entering leg 2, escaping with just a 1-0 defeat?
Absolutely. I thought this game couldn't have gone much worse for them. It started off fairly, as you said, pretty much a stalemate, but once it broke open, it was all Forge. Forge completely dominated. Then you have the red card, and it gets even worse for Cavalry. And then they basically get out of jail with the score at 1-0, and you're thinking more goals coming with the red card to Tristan Borges, which I think was undeserved. So this could have been a lot worse for Cavalry, and I think the tie could very easily be over.
It's funny you say it couldn't have gone much worse for Cavalry, because I think it couldn't have gone much worse for Forge, especially after going up a man, being awarded the penalty. If you would have told me that game was going to end 1-0 in favor of Forge, I would have said no chance. I think this game's going to get away. I think it could have been 2-3, 4-0 in favor of Forge. So I think Cavalry actually extremely lucky to get out of there. Couldn't have gone better for them, if you will.
I don't know what Tommy Wheeldon Jr.'s team talk after that game would have been like, but if I put on my best Tommy Wheeldon Jr. vest and sort of channel, and channel what I think he might have said, boys, we're still in this. We don't deserve to still be in it. We're still alive, going back home. Got to feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
If you're Bobby Smirniotis, yes, you won the game. You did what you had to do in your home leg. But, man, you're feeling like you had a chance to put this thing away, have it over with, and it's not. And you now have to go to Calgary, and Lord knows what the weather's going to be like out there. This should be an interesting second leg. I think Forge will feel worse heading out there than Cavalry.
I would take a little issue with you saying, they don't deserve to be in the second leg, just because I thought they defended fairly well in the second half, especially after the game plan is basically just crumpled up and tossed away after the red card, right? I think Tommy Wheeldon Jr. entered the game with a match plan. That all changed. Camargo maybe should have come on a little bit earlier. He has to change that up a little bit. And Jay Wheeldon, I think he targeted Tristan Borges, but he also defended well, I thought, in the second half and really came on and secured things. Did they concede a few opportunities in the second half? Yes, but I thought they defended well enough to get to that second leg.
It did, and Marco Carducci's part of that, and he was immense in this game, but 2 crossbars. Yeah. Those, an inch the other way, and it's 3-0.
Yeah, we'll talk about the match plan and other decisions going into this game after a short break. It's Buyers Sell time on the other side.